Hello, everyone. I'm Olga. I'm head of marketing at AppFollow, and I'm very happy to see you all here and welcome to our joint webinar with Social Peta. Before we start, I'd like to go through a few organizational moments. So we will have today two talks. Both will be dedicated to this peculiar thing of entering new markets. First talk will be covering how to build your strategy when organic strategy and when to enter new markets, how to do proper research, how to identify what markets to enter, who are the main competitors. And the second one will be covering mostly paid channels, paid user acquisition. So both talks will be for about 20-25 minutes. Each speaker will have 5 minutes after his presentation to answer your questions. So if you have some, please do ask them here in the chat box. And even before we start the main thing, can you please share where are you joining today from? So I'm joining now from Dublin, Ireland. It's 9 a.m. here, so a very good start of the day. And then at the end we will have also a few more minutes for questions and answers. So in case you missed something before the event, during the talk, you will have your chance to get your questions answered. Without further ado, I'm very glad to welcome here on our stage my colleague Vlad, who is head of app analytics at AppFollow. He will be, as I already mentioned, he will be talking about the building a proper strategy for entering new markets and doing research on competitors. Let me also start sharing his presentation.
Hey everyone, good to be here today. I see people from Munich, from Berlin, great. Our friends.
Yeah, we have a great variety.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, let me then start your presentation. So we're not holding people off the main event.
Okay, great.
There we go. Please, you can start.
Okay, great. So can I just... All right. So, hey guys, once again, I'm really glad to be here. And as Olga already mentioned, today I'm going to talk with you about how to enter new markets, how we can gather insights around your competitors and actually work around the metrics. Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, good to see you all here. So let's just jump straight into what AppFollow is, since I think that not of you are familiar with our business and product. And we are actually all-in-one platform to boost your app growth, meaning that we work around reviews management and replies to reviews. We have an expanded ASO platform working with keywords, intelligence, and all that stuff around ASO. And we also do have this app analytics side of the product where you can get some insights on your own apps or the market. We work around different mobile markets like App Store and Google Play, of course. We also have Amazon and Mac App Store. And in terms of the data and the scale of our business, we actually process around 150 million reviews per month and around 10 million keywords each month as well. So let's just jump into the approach and my topic. I think that in terms of talking about the market strategy, to create a winning market strategy means just to work on the whole steps, on all the steps of the user journey, from the idea validation process all the way to the user feedback and replying on it. And in this case, in this presentation, I'm just going to highlight some of the ways of working on each of these steps, except of user acquisition strategy, because I believe my colleague in the next presentation will really cover it good. So I'm going to quickly show you how we approach the market research at AppFollow, how we can help you with that, how we work with post-release app analytics, and how we approach the KPIs or North Star metrics. And at last, I'm going to show you how the reviews management can really become a big thing for you in terms of entering the new market. So yeah, let's just jump into all these pillars. And the first thing is, of course, market research. So when we are talking about the pitfalls, the difficulties while entering new markets, we can actually categorize them between the competitors part and the localization, the language part as well, because they all can block your user base acquisition process. And actually, when we are approaching these like pillars, we can ask pretty basic questions. And in terms of competitors, it's like, do we actually have a new niche that we can approach and get user base from? Or is there like any growth at all? And that's like what we have to answer at the very first point. And in terms of localization, it's like an internal question of, is it enough to just localize the app page, or do we have to localize the app itself? Or maybe some other questions in terms of which specific parts of the content or the app page we have to localize and take a deep look into. Anyway, let's just focus on the first part, dealing with competitors. And we actually at AppFollow start with the market trends and analytics here. So first thing that we do, and we actually propose to our clients to do, is to look on the benchmark for downloads needed to reach the top end position of a certain category. Let's say you know the country and the target market, target category for your app, and you can actually see how many downloads, like top 10 or top 100 apps get each day. And it will just give you an overall look on how much install base, how much users you can actually pretend on. And the next logical step here is to understand, is this like amount of downloads trending? What are the dynamics of the market? And for that specific reason, with our product, calculate this overall downloads trend for each category and country, just to match this amount of downloads and the overall trend of the category. So having all the things in your mind, you can actually understand a bigger picture of the trend itself. And the last thing that we actually add here as a value for our clients is that we show the insights on the market changes. And let's say you have like a lot of categories in the App Store that are affected by the coronavirus situation, like lockdowns affecting businesses and all that stuff. But at the same time, you, let's say, have an app in sports category in Great Britain, or you're willing to launch an app in this category in this country. And for example, if it was summer, you can actually see that there was a big boost in terms of like the trend and the benchmark of downloads. And the specific reason for that was that the English Premier League, soccer league, was launched and the football came back to Europe, meaning the high-level football. And of course, a lot of betting apps, a lot of apps connected to the schedules and all that stuff was downloaded, and the overall trend was getting higher. But at the same time, if you don't have an app connected to the football, it won't be your downloads. So that's like the insights that we get with our analytics team and share with our clients here. And I'm just going to highlight one case of this like niche or target market research that we had. The goal of our client was to launch an app on a new market for him, which was like the educational category in Russia and the Apple App Store. And this trend just shows how the downloads were like placed on the calendar from the middle of April to the middle of September. And you see that there are like two high points here. The first one is like the pre-exam preparation boom, which is a seasonal trend in Russia in May, I believe at the end of April and throughout the whole May, which actually starts to rapidly fall at the end of May. And the second trend is, of course, the preparation for the school year to start. I believe for the most countries, not Russia as well, which is also a seasonal trend, but you have to take them into account in terms of launching your own app anyway. But the better thing that we actually help our clients with is to understand this like competitors landscape, what apps are on the market and how difficult it is to compete with them. For that specific reason, we have a tool called Compare Apps, where you can actually add several apps if you know your competition, or you can ask our consulting team to help you find them. But let's say you already know who the competitive apps are. For example, you found them by the keywords, by the title of the app, which reflects the actual topic of your app. And what we saw here when we found like 3 main competitors for the client was that the highest rated competitor, which was like on the top 12 list on rankings in Russian educational category, only had around 20 reviews, which is like really low and shows for us that it's not that much popular of an app. And a second insight, just by comparing these competitors, was that they all actually monetize and have virtual pricing. They monetize in the same way. They do not have in-apps or subscriptions. They just are paid apps. costing around $1. And the third insight here was that all the apps were actually young, pretty young. They were less than 1 year ago since the launch. And it actually can highlight like two specific roads, how we can approach this information. First and pretty obvious was that this niche is just a little to compete for, and there is like no specific reason for our client to start those business, jump into this new niche. And the second insight that can also going from all we found here is that this niche might have some undiscovered potential that our client can go for. And after some more thorough research that we did on our site and proposing the client to try another monetization model, not going with this paid app for $1, but just going with the free app with paid ads monetization, they actually found that it was a niche that has potential. And they are now the top ranked app among the competitors, even after like 3 months after the release. So yeah, that's just one of the specific cases how we can approach this market research thing to launch on the new market. And of course, as I already mentioned, the localization part, I believe my colleague Sergey will cover it better in his presentation. What I was just willing to tell you, never forget that you don't just translate, you have to adapt your app. And it is connected to all of these things, especially on your app page as well. Especially the specifics of your like market have to be taken into account. And in this case of Hustle Castle, for example, you see that not only the subtitles and the titles of the app are translated, but all the creatives are actually slightly different because they know the specifics of the market and they just take them into account here. But I believe that will be covered better in the next presentation. So yeah, let's say you've covered this competitor research part. You understand that this niche, this specific market had some potential, and you actually launched your app. And the next big thing for you will be here to actually evaluate this launch. How are your metrics and how your app actually performs? So we could have just go with consoles for that specific case, but you know that the consoles themselves have some several flaws. Like App Store Connect has opt-in data that is not good for like a thorough analysis, especially at the very beginning of your app launch. And Google Play Console have like tons of specific download metrics that are not sometimes UI friendly. And knowing all these issues with consoles, AppFollow can as well help you with all of them. I'll just highlight some of the tips how we can work with the metrics better, how to analyze your app better after the launch. And I believe they are all pretty obvious, but at the same time, we're covered by our own experience. The first thing here is to look for dynamics for like several indicators. And so I believe you see it. Yes, great. For downloads, it's just never downloads. Oops. I'm sorry, something's going on with my presentation. Yeah. Can you see the slides? I'm sorry, something is just messing up what I'm showing now. So yeah, the first slide here is to, sorry, something is going on with what I'm showing. Yeah, I'm on the slide 21 now. Yeah, so just look for dynamics for several indicators. Let's say there is not only new downloads, but also promotional, organic downloads in the ASO reports, and some other things here. In my case, for example, I have my own apps. The coronavirus situation ruined how I approach the new downloads part of my app analytics, but actually solidified my core user base just by judging on the growth of updates. So I can still say that trend is positive. Maybe it's not a good example for like launching the new markets and going on them, but at the same time, you just have to take into account that the downloads and the amount of downloads that consoles provide you can be different, and you just always have to take it into account. The second thing here is to always keep in mind the console flaws. And I believe one of the most important flaws, especially in terms of you launching on the new apps, is that downloads metrics usually come with a 2 days or even 3 days delay after the actual day they appear. So if you just want this quick understanding how you launched, you still have to wait for a couple of days to actually understand the whole picture. And the third tip here is to actually, if you have the resources or the team, if you have people on your side, try working with raw data from consoles. If you don't have this possibility to work with dashboards and the data, just go with that specific way of working with that. And the fourth tip is not on this slide. I believe it will be a whole different section. I think that working with app analytics soon after approaching the new market has this key part of picking a proper North Star metric. And I believe it's like an eternal question, a classic question for any product, where to go for the quality of the user base. And all the approaches are good to go with. Of course, it depends on your market, on your niche, on your country, and a lot of other factors. But knowing that you can go with both of them, like, for example, just the number of installs or your monthly active user base, or with the quality of how you convert these users into paid one, you can go with the LTV, classic metric as a North Star, or return on investment. You still have this issue of, let's say, picking an LTV as a North Star metric. You have to wait for several months to just collect enough data to actually project the LTV, to build the models around calculating it, and just getting the gist of how it works with your client base in this new market. But what we actually researched and found out with our clients is that reviews can actually be your North Star metric. Let's say you have these two ways of approaching this key metric for you, either number of users or the quality of user base and your conversions around them. And what we found out is that actually 3 out of 4 possible North Stars can be in one way or another affected by reviews. You can affect by the good quality of replies to reviews how the conversion rate works from the store page to the installs. You can work around the quality of users in terms of returning to your app just by answering those complaints or bug reports in the reviews. And also you can approach the average revenue that users get here by answering some of their reviews connected with the monetization issues and just showing them that you are loyal, that you are willing to help in the reviews part and the replies to reviews part as well. So another research that we did on our site actually showed these pretty interesting statistics that according to what we found through the apps that we analyzed, top charts rating policies for both App Store and Google Play make apps having with less than a 4 stars rating lose up to half of their organic downloads, meaning that around 80% for App Store and around 90% for Google Play console are the downloads that apps getting if they have more than 4-star rating. And especially half of them for the apps with a 4.5 stars. So working around your rating and rating by reviews is like a crucial strategy point for any app that launches on the new market, because your reputation and your ratings will gradually affect how many downloads you get. And it's, I believe, very important stuff on any new market that you're willing to approach. And just apart from this impact on North Star metrics, reviews can actually help you in this approaching new market strategy for 2 other reasons. The first one is, of course, they are a really good place to gather insights and feedback from your user base from the very start, because the first reviews you'll get, I believe, will be on your App Store pages, and it will be a good point for you to understand what's going wrong, what are the issues, maybe country-specific issues for you when you approach the new market. And of course, just by answering these reviews, you can decrease churn and understand these market-specific issues which actually lead to these churn rates. So, for example, just before that, I wanted to quickly highlight how you can work with insights. And I believe 3 main sources of insights when you're launching on a new market are 3 and 4 star reviews, because 5 stars are usually just the admiration one, and 1 and 2 are just the hate speeches. So it's not very insightful and fruitful for you to work around them. The next good source of insights is, of course, updated reviews, because people that actually understood something from your product or maybe from your reply to review are the people who actually willing to work around your product and actually committed on what's going on around there. And of course, long text reviews, where people were also committed to just write enough text for you to read and digest it, are also a good place to get insights from. And not only the reviews themselves, but replying to reviews is a really good strategy for you to start with when you are approaching a new market. And we have like several good cases from our customers that show that this gradual work around replying to reviews and starting working with that part of the equation is really good. Because, for example, we have this fintech app, Tinkoff. It's like a big bank from Russia that started to reply to reviews systematically via our platform, via AppFollow. This is like the functionality that we actually provide. And they actually increased their app rating throughout several months to 4.8. And I believe it's like a really good result, especially in this highly competitive landscape that Russia has in these financial markets and financial apps. So, I think reviews is like the next big thing for most of the apps, especially in your strategy of approaching new markets. And it is not only proved by this case, but by also lots of the cases of our other clients. You can look at these cases on our AppFollow/customers page, where we just approach this thing of working with reviews at the North Star metric better, and especially replying to reviews. So if you have this desire, you can also visit it and go with our clients' cases as well. Well, I believe that's like pretty much everything that I wanted to share from my side. Thank you very much. Even though we had a little technical issue in the middle, I believe it was fruitful. So yeah, if you have any questions, you can just go with them. I'll try to answer them.
Thank you very much, Vlad. Yeah, guys, there is a question in the chat I see, and oh, sorry, I think you have some issue with connectivity. Vlad, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, and can you hear me as well?
Okay, we cannot see you though.
Oh, very bad.
But okay, that's. Let's see. Okay, super. Yeah, we can see you now. So there were a few questions when our attendees were registering. So they left a few questions there. So the first one, what are the things to keep in mind when launching in Asian markets? Could you share anything?
Well, I believe it's like a complex question because the Asia is like a very difficult region in terms of the specifics of each country that is presented there. So I believe there is no like a universal approach to the whole Asian market, and it actually depends on which country you want to approach. Because, for example, China is not equal to Asia in general and the region as well. But I believe overall, there are like certain points that you have in account to. If you have an opportunity to take a consultancy or advisor from one of the countries, it will be really good for you. In terms of user acquisition, I believe Sergey will cover this part really good in his presentation. But as far as I know, the big thing in some Asian markets is going with the KOL or key opinion leaders. They are like a crucial part of your user acquisition strategy, and you can go with that. And I believe some consultancy or advisor from this country will help you find the better one, or maybe some services like Social Peta can cover this for you as well. And another thing I believe, which I only just touched in my presentation, is that you just have to go with both localizing the app page and the content, because in the Asian markets, it's like a crucial part when you have this localized content inside your app as well. And of course, in terms of like researching the competitors, I believe Asian market is pretty specific because there are like several other app stores besides, of course, Google Play and App Store that you just have to work around, try downloading your apps there. I mean, competitor apps, and watch how they are specific in terms of technical issues inside, and just trying to go with that. But I don't have this like extensive expertise on the Asian markets, but just on this high level, bird's eye level view, that's what I can suggest. Yeah.
Super, thank you. Yeah, I hope that we answered the question, and it got to be clear to those people who answered it, because there were multiple questions about entering Asian markets in particular. Believe it's just because it's very different from like European ones, and it's not the most common one to enter. So thank you for this. The other question that was submitted in the registration form was, what are the main metrics to look at when measuring success of your launch?
Well, I believe I actually covered this in my presentation. It pretty much depends on what is your current goal. If you want to acquire more users, just get the bigger numbers of downloads or installs. I believe it will be the crucial metric for you since the very beginning of the launch and entering the new market. At the same time, you can also approach these metrics even if you work around the quality of your user base, the conversions rates, the retention, all that stuff. Just, I believe, new downloads will be a very good milestone and KPI for you to understand that everything is going fine here when you just launch your app. And of course, never forget about the ratings just from the very beginning. If you reply to reviews and you get reviews with good ratings, it will be a good metric for you to understand that user base of this specific market that you approach understands the value of your product and understands how you actually localized it and adapted it to the country that you are willing to conquer with your product. So yeah, downloads in general and maybe some specific North Star, but if you don't know which one, or maybe if you don't have enough time to like collect enough data for like LTV or return on investment metrics, go with reviews. I believe it will be perfectly fine to actually understand the picture at the very beginning.
Okay, super, thanks. There was another question in the chat. I'm not sure if you were the right person to answer it. So Paulina was asking, how can I improve the category ranking? Any tips?
You mean rankings or ratings?
Rankings. She corrected herself after that.
Really good question. There are like several indicators which actually affect the ranking and the position in the category. And of course, it is all connected with either the amount of stars you have, the overall rating that the app has, and the amount of downloads. They are correlated between each other, and you just sometimes can't know the basics, a specific reason, but working around getting these organic downloads from the, for example, App Store or Google Play, and at the same time having a good rating and reply to reviews ratio will help you to achieve more. So I think that besides building a good entering new market strategy, you just have to think about replying to review strategy from the very beginning and working with this like feedback from your user base in the app stores. And if you have a good reply rate and updated reviews rating, it will gradually help you to get high in the rankings as well. So okay. It's like my understanding of how it actually goes, but I believe there are a lot of people at AppFollow that can actually help you with this question if it's like more specific to your own business. So you can approach us and we can work with your specific case if you have it.
Okay, super, thanks. Another question is, we have still a few more minutes. In your presentation, you mentioned data points can overlap from or connect. What specific data would it be?
I mean that if you, for example, work with sales reports, working with the revenue data, you can get like 3 different types of reports there: sales event, sales summary, or like the new one called subscriptions reports. And each of them has like this revenue estimate from App Store, gross revenue that you have. And sometimes they can not overlap, but present you like misleading numbers because they are calculated a little bit differently. It is covered in the App Store docs in their guidelines. So what you have to work with here is just to understand what is your like main source of data for revenue, for instance. And if you just know how much you actually get from the Apple after it takes its 30% commission, it will be like your net revenue, for example, that you work with. But if you just go to the console and watch for the metrics in the interface, they can not overlap, but mislead you in a way. Even though there is like an overlap, just because several reports that you can export from there can have one metric. For example, in case of revenue, it will be it that can overlap. Yeah.
Okay, super. Yeah, I hope that answered all your questions. I see that Paulina was happy with it, so thank you very much. Yeah, I think that this part is over now. So thank you very much, Vlad, for your presentation.
Thank you guys as well. Really good questions. I'm surprised that you are so involved. Thank you so much.
Guys, if you have any more questions to Vlad or anything about his presentation, feel free to ask them in the chat. He will hang out with us for a bit, like for a few more minutes, or we can invite him after the end of the second presentation to help you help answer your questions. So, and now I'm very glad to invite Sergey on stage. Sergey is the business development manager at Social Peta, and he would be sharing with us a presentation. Can you hear me, guys? I think I have a bit of an issue. Okay, super, you can hear me. Thank you very much. So yeah, as I was saying, that Sergey will be sharing his presentation on the user acquisition channels, and Social Peta conducted a very nice research that he will also share with us. Oh, that's a okay, super. Sergey, we can't see you though. So if you can also start your video, that would be very nice. We see the presentation, we see the sharing of the screen, but we can't see you yourself.
Okay, now you can see me and hear me, I guess.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Super. Yeah, and we can see you screen sharing. Super. So yeah, the stage is all yours. Very welcome.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Olga. And greetings to all you guys and ladies and gents. So my name is Sergey. Olga also mentioned I'm a BDM at Social Peta. So talking about the global situation overall, I would say that the COVID-19 pandemic of this year has affected everyone's life and work. And many people are forced to stay at home, out of the offices and other places. And in this case, mobile games therefore became, like I would say, the best way for people to communicate and the great entertainment during the quarantine. So this year also might be the best time for mobile gaming. However, the unstable global situation and the tendency that game platforms reviews games with even stricter rules that made, I would say, the increasingly more developers realize that only by making high quality and non-misleading mobile games and creatives and planning for long-term operation can make their games, I would say, thrive. So in case of this presentation at the topic, you see that we do have like the topic of what to know about media buying advertising when entering new markets. So we do have a content as well. So it's like 4 points in here. The one is methodology. The second one is global market analysis. And I would say the other two is for like observation of the US market. And one of the Asian ones is a Japanese one. And a few words, yes, about the Social Peta itself. So yeah, the first one is for methodology. So so actually talking about more like how do we collect the data and what like the scale of what we collect, I could say that all data used in this course came from the Social Peta massive data sources, and by doing so we hope to have a better and bigger picture of the global gaming market buying market. We'll mention several concepts just to avoid misunderstanding in this presentation. I think it's just necessary to explain more about it now, just not to be misled in the future. So the first one, we have 3 notions in here. So the first one is popularity. It is actually an estimated index based on the duration of creative advertising and the number of associated ads and the advertising effect. So this is the first one. The second one is the emerging. So it's an ad creative or advertiser that has fast-growing popularity value in the concrete period of time. So, and the hard is an ad creative or advertiser that has given good impressions after advertising for more than 30 days. So like more than a month, I would say. Yeah, let's jump off to another one. So we'll first take a look on the worldwide mobile game advertising trend of this year. So I'll illustrate it in the 4 following directions. So like the global trend of active advertisers, the global distribution of creatives in various game genres, and also the top advertisers in third quarter on Facebook networks. So earlier this year, actually, talking about a little bit about the Apple and Android. So Apple Incorporated didn't feel that good as its Android counterpart in the 5G smartphone competition, actually. So, however, due to extremely high paid user ratio and market occupancy, iOS has sized an increasing proportion of advertisers. So, averaging a monthly maybe increase. So the average increase of them was about 3.5, as far as I remember. And it is estimated that by the end of this year, the proportion of iOS advertisers will be around 48%. So also watching the numbers of advertisers and the number of average creatives per advertiser from January to September this year, we could outline that's affected by the virus and strict reviewing rules of iOS and other platforms. The number of active advertisers has been gradually declining since April. Well, in the future, refinement and long-term operation that's what we anticipate will be the general trend for mobile games. And while the average creative quantity of each advertiser was dropped to its lowest amount in May, as you can see, with the recovering of global economics, the trend is expected to increase back again in the fourth quarter. So what would you have now? And we'll see maybe in a couple of months. So according to all of these info, our anticipation are as follows. So first, we consider that the benefits brought by the pandemic, the change in the operation mode of some companies, and the updated policies of different platforms, the only way out is to make quality games and creatives for long-term period operation. So the second one, as mobile games evolve in quality, competition in advertising industry will only be fiercer. So especially, I would say in the fourth quarter of this year and maybe the first and the second one in next year. It just depends on the pandemic situation itself. So we also anticipate that the media buying budget will rise a lot, and advertisers will try to use up their annual budget when this year will come to an end. This is also kind of our anticipation. So jumping into the other slide, this is about global market analysis as well. So we're going to look into the active advertisers in popular countries during the past quarter, so the third quarter of this year. So again, due to the COVID and stricter game launching policies of some platforms, the number of active advertisers in most hot countries dropped in the third quarter. So registering a year-to-year decrease of 4.7%, so almost 5%. It's something. So the US still owns the largest number of advertisers worldwide, no problem about it. So while being the most affected country by the pandemic as well. So that also has given the country a better chance to launch more mobile games, and the number of which has increased by almost 8% compared to the previous third quarter. So again, so from the late previous year to early this year, there came a wave of casual games across the world. Then hyper-casual games in particular are the most eye-catching genre. During the peak period, more than, I would say, 40% of advertisers on the media buying rank came from hyper-casual game developers. But in terms of game types, creative puzzle games still count the most, but shrink slightly in each season. So role-playing and simulators, on the other hand, have been rising in proportion. So not too much, but still in proportion. So this is the top 10 media. Sorry. Yep, we're going to jump off. So yeah, this is the top 10 media buying in the third quarter 2020. We can see that the media and hardcore games have become the mainstream, while casual games have taken fifth, 5 places only, which is 3 places less than the previous year. So also, sorry, not too much of info here, like something happened to the presentation. Okay, never mind. So I will just tell you in orally. So in 2020, there are like 4 major networks preferred by global advertisers. And there are Google Ads with Google's powerful algorithm and platform. It has been attracting advertisers from entertaining and puzzle games, and its top markets are US, Canada, and Australia. So we'll talk about the Facebook. So its major advertisers are RPG and puzzle games, and top markets are US and UK and Canada. So it's actually the first choice to advertise a game to develop to the global market. So also the Twitter, as the most convenient global SNS, it attracts users worldwide of all ages and many governmental and institutional users. We all know that. So at the same time, so RPG games are the most common for this network, and its top markets are Japan, US, and Canada. So AppFollow, there are like a large number of advertisers from arcade games and entertainment games, and its top markets are Canada, Germany, and Spain. So yeah, this slide is better. So let's take a look at the Facebook family, what we call like audience network, Facebook, Instagram, also Messenger, but which I mean so in total a bit more than I would say 14,000 advertisers. You can imagine 14,000 advertisers were recognized in Facebook network during the third quarter of this year. So puzzle games has taken almost 20% of the total advertisers. So almost 11,000 advertisers were recognized in audience network in total. So the top 3 popular game genres were role-playing games for audience network, were role-playing games and puzzle games and SLG. So slightly above 11,000 advertisers were recognized on Instagram, in total. So role-playing games has taken more than 23%. Yeah, so it's too much. Yeah, talking a bit like cost intelligence, audience interest, and CPA and all this stuff. So in a special period, many companies and brand owners have chosen open source and cost-saving measures, like hoping to spend every penny on advertising budget on the blade. And so Social Peta, which has an advertising database and technical capabilities, we know the current plight and anxiety of each enterprise which face any problems in this period. And we quickly respond to upgrade our advertising intelligence tool in a short period of time. A minute of advertising, and the latest online audience interest and CPA functions. This was made and implemented by us to alleviate the operating pressure of enterprises and overcome like all the possible difficulties that the companies these days can face. So all audience intelligence understands the cost of audience by geography and capacity. According to the words entered by the user, we will automatically match the relevant audience interest words or recommended words in Facebook, but we have much more than Facebook can provide. So you can see also that the audience size of related words, CPC, CPM, and the popularity of the word. So the higher value means that the word is adopted more times, is implemented more times in particular amounts of marketing campaigns. So yeah, also there's what functions we talk about, like what functions are available for CPA analysis. Well, mainly analysis CPA indicators in addition to supported countries and categories. We also can filter it according to the system, iOS or Android. Also, we provide like different CTAs like active, registration, achievement, level, checkout, purchase, message reply, product view, and chat reply. Yeah, so sorry, not a CTA action. So there are also some dimensions such as gender and age group under the relevant filter conditions. So you can see also the comparison of different ages and different genders that we could compare, like the gender and the and the age by age filter, whether it's CPC, CPA, or CPM, or also the CTR percentage. Yeah. So we'll go through the other section. So it's about CPC. Actually, the same thing. So like the CPA, but there is no action in here. You can also filter it by geography, by the trend. Whether we have like several categories in here. You can drop to and filter it by gaming or non-gaming. You can also filter by trend or something. So a lot of filters in here. You can also see the comparison about the age and the gender. Yeah, so periodic system, everything like with the CPA, but only for CPC. And you can see like the trend for each period you can choose. You can also, if you choose like 15 days, you can see like the price for each day. And you can see like the overall trend by each day. Like today, the cost for CPC in US for casual games is this amount. Tomorrow it was like, the day after it was like this one. So you can see the historical trend, and also you can somehow correlate it with something that's going to happen in the future. So it's kind of interesting thing to think about. So yeah, we're going to jump off to another the third point of our presentation. It's about the media buying in the US market. Yeah. So sorry. Yeah. Okay. So most recommended advertiser rankings. Yeah, I will just a little bit about the US market itself. So the popularity of hyper-casual games that prevailed since the end of last year is decreasing now. But puzzle game developers are the biggest media buyers on the US market, with more than 4,000 active advertisers captured in the past quarter of this year. So followed by those of arcade games, actually, with around 4.1 thousand, so almost equal active advertisers in the third quarter. And also in the first half of this year, hyper-casual games set off a wave of media buying on the US market, which reached its peak in April, when 21 hyper-casual game advertisers hit the top 50 list. So, however, the wave quickly faded out in the second half of this year as advertisers of STG, SLG, and RPG took over the leadership. Yeah. So now we're going to look at the top advertisers rank of the US market in the past quarter. So casual games are the main force in the media buying market in US. You may notice that the top 5 of the rank are all casual games. You can see them all here. So the first one is Coldfield Games They took up the largest portion in media buying among all casual games. I think we're all seeing the creatives and the advertising everywhere for coloring everything. So yeah. Also, the Candy Lucky match puzzle game, which ranks the 5th. It's a money-making game. There are many money-making games emerging on the US market in the past quarter, actually. So yeah. So we're going to talk now more about the our very important and beloved coloring book. Yeah, this is advertising called like coloring book, color by number and pay by number. It's a color-filled casual game that has been ranked top for several times on the media buyer rank. Its target gender is female, I would say about 90%. So ad creative mainly takes video and image types. So the largest share is attributed to image creatives, which was rising throughout the third quarter, approaching about 80%, is if I'm not mistaken, about 80% in overall of all their creatives. So it was like 80% of the image creatives was the late September. And the target audience, as I was already mentioned, the female, so reaching up to 90% as well. Yeah, so a little bit of entertainment. So let's see, let us see just the typical creatives for the coloring book. The classical one has been advertised for around 300 days and had received 1 million impressions. Yeah, I think we can see. Yeah. So, and the second ad has been actually advertised for nearly 60 days, so to like 2 months, and has 466,000 impressions, which is actually like pretty much okay, and pretty much very good, I would say. Yeah, so you can see it's like this one is for like the Christmas coming, jingle bells, and everything like that. So it could be like seasonable, and you see that coloring book is working hard on doing the seasonable creatives just to make people feel the difference between this or that creative that happened this or that season. Like maybe there should be like one for this month or 2 months, another for like another period of the year. So that's really good. So so we're going to jump up to the another creative. So this is the money-making game. The advertisers in this game genre prefer real person creatives, as you can see this lady, mainly because the real money, as we can also see here some dollars, and the real person narrative may increase like reliability of the one who watches it, of the user, possible future user. So also it's our opinion, due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the instability brought by the 2020 election year in US, which has just almost over, life has not yet returned to normal for I would say, the vast majority of American people, while their habit of spending money in advance leaves them with very little money in hand. So this presents money-making online games with favorable opportunity, while the mode of real person plus real money can really meet the current needs of American people. So we can see this beautiful creative.
I just found a game where everyone can win some real money. I love that after every round, you never know how much money you're gonna win. I just played a few rounds with some friends, and at first I won $10, and then $20, and then $50. Everyone on there was going crazy over winning so much money. You have to try it.
Yeah, I already want to try it. Anyway, so another one, it's a quite high quality creative. So casual games are sitting at #1, as you may remember, in US mobile game market, and casual games are loved by American users because of its like fun gameplay and simple operation. So many manufacturers or say developers want to develop more fun gameplay to attract users. So makeup plus casual gameplay seems like to be a great match. So we can also see let's just check it out. So, and talking about more about like image creatives, high quality again image creatives in European and American markets, there are an obvious preference of real person creatives. So you can identify that in all three of these creatives. So yeah, only persons. You see like a big picture of people, or one person or several people on the front end of each creative. Just briefly jumping off to the Japanese market. So Japanese local manufacturers witnessed a decreasing proportion of new releases, representing less than 50% of the entire market in the first half of 2020, which with more products imported from other countries, actually, mostly from China and South Korea. So the number of advertising featuring significant ACG-oriented elements are increasing, actually, and mostly contributed again by Chinese manufacturers. So, and starting the third quarter of this year, ACG mobile games shall not be underestimated among Japanese media buyers. I will just go briefly through the advertisers. Yeah, so an ACG-oriented mobile game by Yuzu Singapore is the first one, so I just can't read the Japanese. Yeah. So this is the first one, the ACG-oriented mobile game. The other one is the Three Kingdoms Junior version. This one I know. It's an ACG-oriented card game, actually, by, again, Yuzu. And the third one is Africa Arena by Lily Games. It's an idle card game. And the fourth one is the You Should Call Me Lord, Japan server role-playing game by, let me remember, Chuanhu. Yeah, so Chuanhu Entertainment. And the last but not least is the Born of Love and Fate. It's an ACG-oriented RPG, again, by Yuzu. So the top advertisers on Japanese market are all more or less related to Chinese developers, and suggesting that the third quarter of this year was a time when Chinese game developers were like fighting extremely hard on Japanese market. So everyone wanted to occupy this niche, And among all developers, Yuzu was attacking into every possible direction, like SCG, music, card games, RPG, and everything else. Hot advertiser analysis. So now we get closer to the outstanding advertiser. So this one, for instance, the advertiser started placing its creatives on Japanese market in the first half of July this year. The quantity of creatives gradually increased and peaked in mid-August with more than 466 pieces, you can imagine, of creatives placed in a single day. So advertiser chose Facebook as its primary network, placing 22.2% of all its creatives, 23% of all its creatives there. Mainly, they were like image creatives, and reaching 65.8, about 70% out of all, so image creatives. Yeah, so talk about it more. We can see like some entertainment stuff in here. So you may notice that all popular creatives are ACG oriented. So moreover, in terms of networks, ACG creatives have better performance in local Japanese networks like NAND and AmoEd than Facebook. The text of the ads are also mainly about like story backgrounds, settings, live 2D tech, and city cuts. So I should say that Yuzu has already formed its own theory to track ACG users, ACG players. So yeah, we can also see the video itself.
君の望みなら何でもお姉さんが叶えてあげよう。
Yeah, these guys know how to attract users. So anyway, if we talk about ACG is an enemy comic game. So you see, like abbreviation. So I would like to jump further. Yeah. So like we'll just go through some popular video creatives on Japanese market. This creative was found on NAND, the local Japanese network. And Japan is a country with a profound ACG culture. So many creatives in local networks are more or less featured with ACG elements. Adding some anime elements to traditional casual gameplay will make like the creative more inspiring. And usually our classic ACG creative will have anime elements in the top part, but in the Japanese market, the anime girls are added in the bottom part of creative. So this is kind of a detailed difference, I'm just wondering if... Okay. So we now go through this. In terms of image creatives, the Japanese market has clear features. Due to easy gameplay, female players take the majority actually, so making Japan a top female game market. So most pictures choose pink or cute colors. You can see here like everything like in lights, something very very bright ones and shining. So making Japan the making game market. And most pictures choose pink and cute colors as well, and are matched with large font slogans. You can see like on the top and the bottom. And casual games by Line are popular in Japan. And Line is a very popular SNS in Japan, taking the advantage of its large user base, and its game can reach out to its existing users very quickly. So this is just briefly everything I wanted to tell you about the Japanese markets and the US market and the global overview. So just a few words, guys, if you can let me tell you about the Social Peta itself. So Social Peta's data infrastructure was established about 5 years ago. We have accumulated over 700, or I would say even 900 million creatives since then. So what's more, we do our updates hourly. So by using Social Peta, you can do like several words. Analyze your competitors' creative. You can do it. You can dig into creative details as well. You can as well analyze trending creative assets to identify opportunities and potential new creative ideas for your own marketing campaigns. You can also discover who was running burst campaigns recently. Also, you can evaluate the effectiveness of ad networks by visualizing an app's distribution of ad impressions across like all the networks we have, and we have 70, and we do have all like the proper ones and all the big ones, I would say. Social Peta also is capable to meet the needs of different teams inside of the company, from strategy owners to UA managers or analytics, doesn't matter. We have a huge amount of different metrics to analyze and to make the work easier, to make tough decisions faster. And also, talking about like some sort of efficiency and the value that Social Peta provides to its clients. We provide market analysis and competitive product dynamic analysis for decision makers. That's all you that can read here, guys. Also, we provide the data support for release teams, save trials, cost, and improve work efficiency by almost 80%. And we provide creative responsibility for design team, increase material output rate by even 200%. And we provide the company with creative blueprint for advertising, increasing creative effects by 80% and increase user satisfaction by 200%. So these are like you see our core clients we have. So again, the core market for us is Asia, but we always like open to discuss any opportunity and cooperation anywhere globally. So, but we're just here to present our beloved clients. So and actually this is all, and I understand that was too much. It was too long and pretty boring. But thank you all for this is all for my sharing session, and I would just Social Peta leaves wanna hear your response about us, and you can contact us for a trial using the following contact details. And I'm really looking forward to cooperating with you soon, or just maybe hearing with you soon. And again, sorry for being so long, and I hope this presentation make a value for you or for your team. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sergey. Really enjoyed all the videos. Thank you for not just showing pictures, but also showing all the creatives that were there. It's always valuable. So you mentioned overview of the the US, the Asian, and the CIS markets. Can you briefly summarize maybe what is the difference between them, and like what kind of creative or strategies you need to use on each, just in few words?
Like in each market, well, for sure you have to. If you like, it depends on your strategy. If you're like if you're serious on this market, or you're just there just to check, to test whether you can answer it or not. So if you're like seriously coming to the market, of course you have to be serious in your attitude. So you have to do several steps. You have to analyze the market in terms of your rivals and market itself, the costs, the mentality and the traditions of the people you're gonna target. And so knowing all these, you have to change and demand, put some changes into your creatives, or even better to set up a particularly new one. So that your creative should directly correspond to the needs and to the traditions of the people you are targeting in this area. So
Okay, super.
like the overall casual.
Thank you very much. There is a question about the social Peta channels. So you mentioned Facebook. I know also you mentioned Google. So do you have any, what other channels does social Peta have?
Well, I do know that we do have 20 of them. If we talk about like global ones, we have 20. If we talk about in overall quantity, we have around 70. So if we talk about global, we do have Facebook, like with all the four, like Facebook, newsfeed, audience network, Instagram, Messenger. Google, we have like Google Ads, AdsMob, YouTube. About any others, we do have Snapchat, TikTok, Vangle, App Loving, Chat Boost, what else? Mob Vista. Well, I think I can't name all of them, like all of them 20, but I think I've named like the core ones we have. But again, if we talk about the global ones, we do have 20. Maybe I've named like 10, maybe 12.
Okay, super. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think that would be it. Thank you again very much for your presentation. As there were no more questions, I would not invite Vlad back on stage. So guys, we will send the recording of this session before the end of this week, maximum early next week, together with the presentations and everything. In case you have any questions, always feel free to tag us on Twitter and we will be happy to answer them. And stay tuned for the next sessions. Thank you very much and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.